What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Thomas, and welcome to the Awakening World. You know, the people I know that are happiest are people who have been able to find a way to be in their right livelihood, to really be living their purpose, but to be doing it in a way where there is a very positive, beautiful, creative expression. It's a gift, it's a blessing, and I feel that way both kind of my two jobs as a love coach and in hosting and producing the Awakening World. I love doing both of those things. It's my creative expression. And I also know that it's my Dharma. Now, Dharma has different definitions, but for me, Dharma means when we're really doing we're in right livelihood. We're doing what our soul wants us to be doing. And this is such an important topic that all three shows this week are dedicated to how we can really be in our Dharma and be doing creative expression. And so I wanted to get us off to a great start. So I've invited two wonderful women to join Trish and Omisha and myself. We've got Ilse Faye, who is the creator of the Erotic Film Festival. We've got author Beth Bell. We had her on the show recently, and I loved all that she had to share. It's Wednesday night, which means Trish is here. So we're going to hear from all three of these amazing women, but we are going to start by focusing on my co-pilot, my beloved brother, Omashar. And Omashar, if ever we had a topic that you could speak to, this is it.
Yeah, I know it is, Scott, and that's makes me truly apprehensive. And so Dharma, it's an interesting one because as soon as I think Dharma, I get into my mind. But what happened for me was I used to be in pop rock bands in New Zealand, and I felt half full and half empty. And one day, this is a nutshell version, I decided to set myself free. I had an invitation to come to a spiritual conference in the United States, and I was starting to trust the emanations and the ruminations from my heart. And I went down to the beach on this island I was living on in New Zealand called Waiheke Island, and I said, if I'm supposed to leave everything behind, my rock band, my other bands that I was in, and my lifestyle, and start a new lifestyle, I want some signs. And within 10, 15 seconds, I had these 5 sets of shooting stars that went straight up, and which is what I'd asked for. I said, I want shooting stars, but I don't want ones that go sideways, and ones that go straight up. And they went straight up, and my first words to myself were OSH1T, because now I had to go forth with my commitment. And what happened from then was I sold everything, I jumped on a plane, came to the States, And because I had said yes to the universe said yes to me. And for the next 10, 15 years, without any advertising, I was given ticket after ticket and conference after conference and word of mouth until 33 countries had accrued. And my Dharma, by following it, had taken me without any mental effluvia around the world. I'm not too sure what to say more than that in this moment. We'll say more as time goes on. But anyway, I have another side to my music, and I write sacred mantras. Well, I don't write the mantras, I write the music around them. And because we have 3 shows all about working with your Dharma, let's say, I have chosen a song tonight, which I finished yesterday, and I wrote it, and I created a video for it today, which I'll play behind me. And it's called Purna Mada. I'm going to put the lyrics in the chat box so that you can sing along. And rather than dance, sing and just look at the video. If you do highlight anybody, Scott, leave the video up. But otherwise, the video is pretty cool. I finished it about an hour ago. And the lyrics is basically, this is a Sanskrit mantra, and it's out of the book of the Upanishads. And it is it's something to help encourage wisdom and to calm the speaker, which is what I need, whilst removing any obstacles that you face in the pursuit of your goal. And so without any further ado, I'm going to go into it. And the pronunciation is Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnath, Purnamudaccha Day. It's in this chat box. Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishya Day. And so sing along and sing along and sing along. And the thing is to get lost in the mantra, so your mind leaves and your heart remains. And so here we are. We're going to do this. I've got a couple of things to press. Let me get this one. Excuse me for being long-winded. And here.
We love it when you're long-winded.
Yeah, I love being 2 inches long-winded. So, okay. Sorry. There we go. Oh, actually, I'm really long-winded. What I have to say here, sorry, Scott.
We can't hear you, though. You need to make
Sorry
it.
for being long-winded. What's important about this is I was in Tibet on one of my amazing journeys that I never advertised for. And this video behind is from the Sagadawa festival in Tibet in Mount Kailash. And all of the sounds on it, I recorded personally with my little digital microphone. And at the beginning, you're going to hear this group of women singing, and they're women workers who sing together to have them be creative throughout the day. And at the very end, you're going to hear these kids singing, which is some street urchins that came up to me to sing me a blessing and a joy. So here we go again. Thank you.
It's beautiful, Amashar. That was the most unique presentation I think you've ever done on the awakening world. I mean, a lot went into that, the video and all that. So tell us a little bit about your process of creating that creativity.
Well, the thing is, I had all the sound files from Tibet when I was there. And at the very end, there's even, when you listen to the track, not through Zoom, at the very end, there's this water flowing. And the water is me. And we just left Kathmandu in a bunch of Toyota Highlanders across the desert to go to Tibet, as one does. And we passed this huge river, and I just put my mic by it and got the water from there. So I had all these sound files and all these visions and all these photographs, and I put them together, and I compiled a huge folder of videos and files and clouds and the Tibetans who are playing these huge big horns and etc. And then I lay down the music track, which I finished yesterday, and I was out midnight last night with my headphones going, is it good enough? And my spirit was just going, just do it. And so I laid that down and slowly put all the images on top of the videos so they matched exactly with all the changes. And so it had great context. I'm going to post it on YouTube and etc. Without me playing in front of it, so it'll be more relevant then. But it's an amazing process, and I feel so on purpose when I'm doing it. And so I have metaphysical pop music, which is my music to grab people's attention. And then once you get their attention, they listen to the lyrics and go, oh, it is possible to be spiritual and walk in this world. And the other side is mantras, which I've done for years, but I rarely bring out. And because we have 3 shows on the Dharma, it was time. So there it is.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And when you get that YouTube link, send it to us so we can include it in our replay video that we send out to everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Scott.
And, a reminder that we always want to support Omar Shar, and his website is his name, omarshar.com. And that's where you can buy his albums, learn all about him. And the best place to buy is at Bandcamp, because they are most generous at giving some of that money back to Omar Shar. So I'll remind you to do that. And of course, Omar Shar will be back on a little bit later on in the show. It's Wednesday night. It's Trish night. And Trish, this is a topic I know that you would really enjoy, and I'm really good to hear your thoughts about your process of finding your Dharma and finding your creative expression.
Ooh. Oh, good question. Well, I think that I've always been kind of like a weird creative person. I just like to play. I find a lot of creativity in. And if you've been watching for a while, you've seen me cross dress, you've seen me sing, you've seen a lot of crazy. And I feel like the thing that is the joy, or there's this term called follow your bliss. I didn't exactly understand it, and I think it's too rudimentary to actually really define. Is like follow the thing that lights you up in such a way that you can't not do it. Like, I can't not do the things that I'm doing. Like I must. My body, my brain, my spirit, my heart is literally drawn to those things, to the things that I'm doing, like my work. And sometimes when I dress like a man, we'll just use that because it's one of my favorite creative expressions right now. When I dress like a man, it's because it's inspired in the moment. It's inspired, like I can feel it rising up through my body, and I want to express something that draws me closer to people, that draws me closer to myself and the understanding of the world. And the characters that I like to embody are often because I want to find empathy there. Like I pick people who I'm like this last character, you guys haven't seen him yet, but this last character was Kyle. Kyle's probably lived in my hometown, drank too much, probably drank Monsters for a living, I was like, how does this person feel in their body? And so I just get to embody that. But that's on the creativity side. And I think the Dharma side, which I don't think is very far off of the things, is, Scott, I've been really sick for a long time. I finally have a diagnosis. But for a hot second, 3 months, I thought that I had liver cancer. And I sort of got real clear about a lot of things in my life. Like it puts a lot of what the world and what needs to happen in perspective. So the things that I was just spinning my wheels on that don't actually derive any joy for me or really connect me with other people just kind of melted away. Like, is this going to matter in a week to anybody? No. Is this upset's going to matter? No, nobody cares. What really matters is how much I'm living, how much I'm loving. Can I love Ilsa better? Can I love you better? Can we really can I love Omashar better? Can we get into this place where we're loving action every day? That's where I'm at in this conversation. So
Beautiful.
Dharma.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, we're going to, of course, hear much more from Trish throughout the night. And to introduce Ilse Faye, let's take a look at a short video.
Hi everyone, are you ready for a film festival that's dedicated to celebrating love and sexuality in all its forms? Well, this is the Erotica Film Festival, a festival devoted to supporting consensual and authentic expressions of love, sex, and intimacy. Now in our third year, and with more films than ever, 2023 is going to be a wildly erotic and gorgeous season. This year we have an incredible lineup of films that explore the depths of love, intimacy, and eroticism, created with an ethical focus on consent and integrity to beauty and art. Simply put, you won't find anything else like erotica anywhere else in the world. From art and abstract films to sensual romance and explicit connection, you can watch solo, with a lover or friends, or simply feel inspired and aroused. And the best part, our festival is all about celebrating love and sexuality in a safe, inclusive, and non-judgmental environment. We believe that everyone deserves to express themselves freely, to explore in safety, and to feel deeply. And our festival is the perfect place to do just that. So why wait? Get your tickets now and join us from June 10 to 30 for 21 days of art, films, and talks about sex, love, and intimacy. See you there.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I am such a fan of Ilse Faye. Welcome back to the show. Congratulations. It's very cool that you're with us just 2 days before this big event starts. And I know that Trish is a big fan of yours also. Well, same question. Tell us how, I mean, it's a big deal to put together a 21-day festival. Tell us how this evolved for you and how you kind of tapped into your Dharma. And does this feel like your Dharma? I guess I should ask.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure to be here. To connecting with people on the other side of the planet always feels really special for me because I'm over here in Australia. So I love your question, Scott, and I love you actually just checking in. Is this actually my Dharma? Because as you raised the question for today, I was like, oh, well, where does my creative expression sit with my Dharma? And I was reflecting that actually these things have evolved for me quite dramatically through the last 5-10 years. So erotica was actually born through my own self-pleasure practice. And I was at home and I was, in my process, having my own personal experience and effectively had, I guess, a vision of something, of an event. And I was like, oh my gosh, I came out of this process and I was talking to my partner, now my husband, and it's like, I can't do this. This is insane. This is absolutely crazy. I cannot do an event like this. And he just looked at me and he said, well, of course you can. And so with that really incredible support, the erotica event came from vision to a physical live in-person event within about 5 weeks. and we had people from our community come and offer their soul gifts. So it was an in-person event that effectively was founded from the premise of Eros. So can we create a boutique, one night only experience where we're not rehearsing, people are showing up there in their bodies, they're orgasmic chanting, there's meditation, there's erotic poetry. There's nothing explicitly sexual. It's more the arising of the soul and arising of the eros and the flow of what wants to be there, but with an honoring and a celebration of the erotic arts and of the body, burlesque and shibari and these sorts of art forms. And so that was how erotica started. We did 3 live events. They were all in Melbourne in Australia. And then COVID came, but around the same time, and this is kind of part of my Dharma, I'm a mum, and I absolutely love being a mum. My child is now 14. When this was first kind of arising, they may have been around 10. And I became aware that at some point, my child was going to come into contact with pornography, probably in the schoolyard on a smartphone or something like that. And I was deeply concerned because pornography is not really what happens between people. It's not a true expression of what intimate love and relationships is. It's one version, and there's nothing wrong with what happens in porn, but it's certainly not what anybody, I think, would want their child to think is real life. And so with that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a mum. I have this responsibility to create the things that I don't think are there, which is a sensual film that really shows intimacy, love, vulnerability, playfulness, connection in a non-explicit way. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is the next phase for me. This is the next creative expression. I did a call out to my community. I had maybe 10 or 12 people come forward, an incredible videographer come forward, and we put this event on and we made this gorgeous film. It's on YouTube. It's called The Erotic Heart. And it was received so beautifully that it just, from there, it was like, well, the next obvious evolution of erotica is to create a film festival. Might not seem obvious, but it kind of seemed obvious to me at the time. And part of that thinking was, I have a responsibility to create these films, and then realizing that I actually don't think that I'm the person who's supposed to make hundreds of films. This is actually not for me to do. I want to create a body of films and of work and of expression and individual expressions of creativity and love and intimacy. And actually my flavor is very narrow in the global landscape. I have a particular style. I have things that I like. And so the evolution of the festival made so much sense in that we're going to capture and invite in, hundreds and thousands of individual sparks of eros and sensuality and expression. And so it just kind of grew and evolved from there. And I feel really grateful for some of the films, or all of the films that we receive, and for, the uptake and the interest and the support that we receive.
Wow. What a beautiful intention that started this. I mean, your story is so wonderful because so many people get erotica and they think erotica film festival, and sadly, they do think pornography, or do they, think whatever, because if there's anything people have projections around, it's around sexuality. And I love that the intention was to create what really intimacy looks like, as a mother of a teenager. That is just like the most perfect intention to start something like this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been beautiful to see it evolve. The first couple of years we had categories of sexuality, like what's kink and self-pleasure and BDSM and queer and LGBTQ. And this year we actually really changed those categories. And what I found was that the categorization of sexuality is almost infinite. we could end up with 1,000 categories with one film in each of those categories. And that started to not make sense to me. And really what my Dharma, where that sits in relation to specifically, I guess, to who I am and to how I see the world, is that I'm for the individual, but I'm not really for the group. And so the categories that we've moved towards really honor, I guess, what's behind or what's beyond the groupings and the personalities that we find in the world. So we've got an art abstract category, we've got the sensual category, and then we've got explicit. So it's really allowing people to tailor and express themselves and their sexuality in a place that's more in line with the humanity within us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Trish, anything you want to add before we go to Beth?
I have lots to add. I was able to watch the films last year. And one of the things that I think that many of us, I'm going to speak for myself here, many of us, which I know that I'm not the only one who wanted or wants more artistic and creative expressions of sensuality and sexuality. And when I watched last year, it was really, really profound to see just how vast and sort of supple and really nourishing the people's expressions were. And I think that our time in this time right now is craving a visual sexual expression that's outside of the white supremacy and patriarchal model. Because what we normally see in porn is the male gaze. It's the primarily dominant, controlling, consumptive male gaze. And I think that many of us were like, that's not who it is. That's not what it is for me. I want something that feels connected and sensual, and I can taste it, and like I can feel the softness in the back of my brain, because that's how it feels for me. This isn't an accurate representation, right? And so I totally understand about, wanting to create an opportunity for not only just your child, but every child, the children within us, to relearn what sexuality, what our sensuality, what our actual true expression that comes from our creation is actually. Like, I can see how that just draws you. I think we have similar draws. Anyway.
Well, again, I want to really encourage everybody to go to the eroticafilmfestival.com, an online film festival of consensual and authentic expressions of sexuality, love, and relationships. I mean, just that sentence, my heart just opens so wide. And there's a coupon discount. I just put it into the chat box, 15% off with the code of 2 days to go. 2 days to go is the code. And that's the number 2 days to go. And, this is a reminder. We're going to go to Beth in just a moment, but I want to remind everybody that's watching, a lot of you are watching us on Facebook. We go out over as many as 175 Facebook groups and pages through the Sign Network. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, thank you, Ellen Steinfeld, or on the Conscious Awakening Network or Humanities Team, however you're watching us, join the Global Peace Tribe, because we're going to be going for another hour with these wonderful ladies. We're going to be having a chance for you to ask questions, maybe even to hear from you. And when you join the Global Peace Tribe, that way you get all the discount codes, because they're all put into our Zoom room. So how do you join? How do you do this? Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. globalpeacetribe.com. You can learn all about our shows and all that we do, and click register for the new season. And when you click on register for the new season, it takes you to our registration page. We do 3 or 4 shows every week, and always bringing inspirational people like Ilsa and Trish and Omashar and Beth. And here's, of course, the show that we're doing tonight. And then we're going to continue with this theme on Saturday night. as we collaborate with our friends at Soul Search. And Kristen Hoffman, one of our absolute favorite musical artists, will be with us live talking about her 7-year project. She has just completed her first album in 7 years, and we're going to get a taste of that. And then we'll complete on Sunday. In the Sunday show, all of our guests are coming from all over the world. We've got Tatiana Speed, again, one of our favorite musical artists. She's coming to us from Canada. And then Dr. Rama, Professor Alexander, and Pops are all European artists. So it's a really fun week, and every week is awesome. And right now, when you register, you're going to get all the Zoom room links for the next 4 months, all the way through the end of September. So now's the time to join the Global Peace Tribe. Come on into the Zoom room, connect with us. This is who we are and what we're doing. And we're going to, of course, hear more from Ilsa and Trish, but I want to introduce our next guest. And this is Beth Bell. You all met Beth previously on the show when she was talking about her book. And her book is so important because she's really been honest about her life's journey, which includes psychedelics and a challenging disease and a very eclectic life path. But she's got a passion for encouraging and empowering others to dive deeper on their awakening journey. So when I knew we were going to do this topic, I thought we got to have Beth come back and talk about it. So welcome back to the Awakening World, Beth. And of course, you know by now you've had some time to prepare. Yeah. What's your journey been of finding Dharma and applying your creative expression to it?
Well, I love that topic, and I'm so happy to be on the show to talk about it because 20 years ago, I had an awakening kiss that I guess I would say really helped my soul to be quickening. And I would have never expected back then that I would say today that my Dharma is to be an awakening agent, as it is for all of us on this call. I started to realize as I was still in my big corporate job, actually, believe it or not, in big pharma, people who know me today are like, how is it possible? And people that know me from big pharma are like, how is it possible you're doing what you're doing today? So it's a fun one when I think about it from that perspective. But it took me about 10 years before I actually did the official jump out of the matrix there and out of my corporate life. And then I would say that my creative expression really went on high with my Dharma because I ended up in Bali, opened a store, a brick and mortar store on Monkey Forest Road, and created a line of jewelry and paper products and all these items that were all about helping people to live their purpose and their passion in life. So I've been on a really interesting journey, which led me to doing a radio show, building out a mobile recording studio and doing a show from there, and many, many other things. But it all culminated to becoming an author, which was something that I always thought I wanted to do. But if I'm honest, I wanted to be the expert, and I wanted to have like the 5 tips and the 3 tools and all of that. And Spirit said, no, you're going to write about your own life journey. And it's an awakening memoir. And I was like, no. And I fought a little bit. And I was like, no, I don't really want to share all of my stuff. And Spirit was like, yeah, this is what you're here to do, is to write your stories, not because people actually need to know all the details of my stories, but what it does is it starts to open up the dialogue for difficult conversations and for things that people don't want to talk about. And it also helps others that are just starting out on their awakening journey, who are deep in their awakening journey, for all of us to know that we're not on this journey alone. So I think now is the time more than ever for everyone to really be waking up. And I think as awakening agents that we all are, it's important to remember that we're really just here to shine the light and show the way. I think a lot of us want to help others, and we can certainly do that, but there's an element here where everyone really has to take their personal responsibility to do their own inner work. And a lot of times we want to heal someone or help them, and it's like, we're not here to heal anybody. We're just here to be our perfect and whole self and to shine that light out there and to help others awaken as we go. So yeah, it's led me to writing the book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, Unraveling the Mind to Unveil Illusions. It's led me to launch another show that's all about unraveling the mind. And it's on YouTube to talk about questions that people have, because as we know, the questions and things we are talking about tonight, many other people have those same questions or those same dilemmas. And so I believe it's all about coming together in community and sharing. So I love what you're doing on the show, and I'm super happy to be here. So that's really my journey. Over the last 20 years, it's been a pretty deep dive, and I've just been following spirit ever since. And there's lots of ebbs and flows, and I'm sure we're going to get into tonight as we navigate that, when spirit nudges us, and sometimes in ways we're like, what? How is that going to happen? And then it does.
Beth, when you're working with people and they take that leap and then they hit roadblocks, what are some practices or a practice that you suggest to people to stay with it, to stay with following their Dharma, even when it doesn't appear like it's in the flow?
Yeah. Well, I think everything in life is about the inner work. Everything is about understanding and self-realization, understanding ourselves, and understanding the programs that were often instilled at a young age and or picked up along the way in the collective conscious. And so it's always about unraveling those third dimensional constructs. And so one of the things that I really like to recommend for people, it's not something that you can always do just at the drop of a hat, but family constellation work, because family constellation work helps us get into the subconscious mind and the programs of our ancestral lineage. And sometimes things that we just don't even realize that are culturally ingrained in us that we didn't realize were running our lives. So that's a way that I really like to encourage people to get to some of the deeper programs, because also in family constellation, everybody learns and everybody heals something within themselves as they do it. But if it's something, like really personal, of course, meditation and quieting the mind is something that is so important. And I'll say just really quick that for me, I have a very active mind, and it was really hard for me to quiet my mind for many years, still is sometimes. And then the universe gave me this great practice of observing flowers and photographing them, to a point where it was really the universe's way to get me to meditate, because my mind would quiet so much that I would start to hear messages from the flowers, which ultimately is from my higher self. And so that was a really beautiful practice. So I like to also say that, meditation doesn't have to be just the traditional, sitting in one spot. It can be the walking meditations. It can be just being really present and aware and stopping to smell the roses. So flowers have been a real incredible tool for me to really just bring that presence and that awareness and that centeredness and really connecting back up to source.
I love that the flowers have brought you in, and you started with a kiss. I love this.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about how you help others awaken?
Really through storytelling. It's through telling my stories, having people come on to my show on Sundays at 11:11, send in questions, and we talk about all the things that happen to us, and really getting down again to that core, like what is the core belief that might be holding me back? What is the construct that I need to just really unveil so that I can step through and see things differently? Because everything in our external world is a reflection of something happening in our internal world. And so, I think our teachers are all out there in every experience that we have every day with every relationship. And those romantic relationships, those are also the really juicy ones, because they're the ones that pull on our heartstrings extra, along with family. And so it's really getting down to the core of, what is it that's driving that behavior or that thought or that mental thought construct that you just might not even know was running the show, because it's always about getting the ego mind in the back seat and having the soul drive. And that means quieting that little voice in our head that's not so quiet a lot of times, and runs all those programs that aren't really helping us. So it's really diving into what is that program that's running you, and that comes through storytelling and questions, and answering those questions and helping people to reframe to new ways of thinking, new ways of looking at situations in their life, and finding the blessing. I think that's also the really important thing, because a lot of bad things happen to us, things that don't make us feel great. But they're happening for a reason. And so it's always great to get in there and just feel into, what is that emotion? What is that feeling? And moving through it and releasing the pain body that comes, so that we don't have to sit in it any longer. So that's really, really some of the ways that I think we can help each other, and the way that I help others to move through, things that are holding them back.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This is such a rich topic, and it's just a blessing to have all of you on the show. Thank you. There is a question that came in actually from Rachel watching on Facebook. Usually I'm not able to catch those, but I did. And the question is, how do I develop enough faith and connection to God? She used the word God, to know that I'm in my Dharma. How do I create enough faith and connection to God to know that I'm in my Dharma? And so I'll just open that question up to any or all of you. What's to talk about?
I'm going to say something, and that is, I put in the chat box, Dharma or drama, which way to turn. And what I've noticed is that when I jumped into my Dharma and everything flowed well, it was great. Where are we? Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. We hear you.
And it was fine, and it flowed for a good 15 years. And then as the light came in, all my stuff started coming up. And the reason I brought up that simple statement, Dharma or drama, is whenever I got off my path, drama would arise. And so that was my sign to get quiet and come back into center, back into Dharma. And so I'd go again, and then my mind would come along and try and orchestrate my life. And then drama would occur again. I go, hang on a minute, I've gone off the path again. So it was a statement which has kept me coming back into center, Dharma or drama, Dharma or drama. And the drama comes with the quietness in here. And I just saw in the chat box also that Paul had said that whitewater kayaking is a great meditation for him, because you have to have every bit of focus on your paddles, etc., and it brings you right into the center. So that's my $1 million addition.
Beautiful. I'm going to bring up Ilsa and Beth and Trish. Do any of you want to kind of respond to that?
Yeah, I have something to share about that. I feel as though, or what I love about these sorts of conversations, with Omashad sharing, his experiences, I was like, oh, is that true for me? And one of my journeys, specifically with erotica, has been that I have really had to hold that course. It has not been all flow. I have had challenge after trial in my personal life with this direction that I've chosen. And so what I've found when I've, really had to think about it and, had to question, am I going to stay the course, or am I going to give this up because of external pressure to effectively not do it? Or because other people perceive that it's wrong. And so what I found with the commitment is that there's this element of courage or bravery that sometimes seems absolutely insane. And you have to really question yourself, like, is this true? Which part of what I'm doing is true here? And who am I doing it for? And what I've found personally is that the integrity to myself has to come first. And I know when I'm selling out. And so it's not always so kind of clear cut as, am I on the right journey with God? It's like, sometimes you can't feel it. Sometimes it's, all you can feel is, do I feel like I'm betraying myself, or do I feel like I'm honoring myself? And sometimes that has to be enough to keep you on the path. And then things open up, and sometimes it takes a year, or sometimes it takes 2 years. And I think we each of our souls has very different journeys here, and what gets asked of us when we find what we think is our soul path can be very, very different from one person to the next.
Thank you for that. That's beautiful. And it's true. I think that really as adults, the most important thing we can do is be in alignment with, I call it higher self. That's the word I like to use. And I have a mantra that I've been doing for 25 years now, and it's, I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And I've probably done that mantra, no exaggeration, 25,000 times in my life. I just constantly throughout the day. And it, at least in my own little reality of life, it connects me to what the Twin Ray would call 12 o'clock, in that kind of centered place. And, you know, earlier Beth talked about the power of meditation. So whatever we can do to come into alignment and feel truly connected is what we want to do. Beth, Trish, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Well, I want to add something because I know that every time I've taken a big leap, and I like to call it intuitive risks, something more opens up, and I do feel like I'm in that flow. And then to the question or the discussion, then there's sometimes where there's just times where I feel like it's, you know, like, oh, why is it moving so slow? Because I love to create and I love to go, and oftentimes the things that come to me that I know are really spirit nudges are when I'm being asked to trust, because I don't know why I'm doing that now. And I remember I had a conversation with you a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, okay, I've launched this book, and this other book is flowing through me, and I feel like I shouldn't be writing this next book. Like I'm supposed to be doing this, you know, and you just said, take the flow when it comes. And I'm like, yes, you know, I mean, it's so basic, but it was just like, it kind of just grounded me back into, yeah, I'm in the flow and I need to stay in the flow with spirit. And it was, you know, it's just my mind that's coming in saying, well, you should be doing this, or maybe you should be doing that. And it's like, no, I should be doing this. Like I know innately in my body that this is flowing through me to get these words on paper for the next book. And I don't need to know, you know, why. And that's been the hardest thing, I think, for me, is to be able to say, I don't know the timeline, I don't know the details, because I got programmed and I worked in a corporate job where I needed to know the details and I needed to be able to see all the steps. And so I think spirits really helped me, you know, take bigger and bigger leaps and jumps and intuitive risks. But the bigger we get them, sometimes, you know, it's like, it's really just sitting in the flow with just absolute complete trust. And just when I think I can't surrender anymore, I'm like, yes, and there's another layer to surrender, and another layer and another layer. So trust and surrender are, yeah, two of my big things right now. Just when I thought I'd been doing that for the last 20 years, it's like, it's, you know, a whole nother, they're up in the ante on me. So my higher self. And so it's fun. I think it's, you know, making the journey fun with the unknowns.
I have a saying for that. It's called, every time I answer all the questions, every time I answer all the questions, they change the questions.
Right? Yeah.
You know, I heard that in both of your shares, it is really the persistence. Like it's a draw. Like you can't not do it. I know that's a double negative, but it's like there's something in you or in me that pulls me towards it. And at some point we get to choose. Like we can choose, like Ilse was like, well, I could choose to to go with the flow of something else, because forces outside of you are pulling you and forcing you outside of your integrity. And you have to choose what's the truth for you. Right. And that is the one thing that I think that in our dharmic path and in our creative path is that it is our integrity. It's crunchy and feels disruptive when we're out of our integrity. Okay.
I'm going to bring everybody back on because I've got a tough question for you all. And the tough question is, how do you manage criticism and or well-meaning family and friends saying, oh, don't do that. Don't, you know, you're going to lose money, or it's, you know, it's too dangerous. Or so how to handle resistance or even criticism from others. is that gets so in the way of a creative expression quite frequently, and even our own safety to proceed with our creative expression. So who wants to tackle that one? All right, Trish, you're up.
Oh no, y'all are gonna see my inner workings now. Well, I say thank you for your love and care, and I'm gonna do what I want. That's usually how it works from there. Thank you. I hear your love and care and concern, and I only have one life. And then the other point is the thought around, I'm alive today. Like I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So why not? Again, there's a point of like living sort of in the moment and living more vibrantly and freely, and also planning ahead. But when I often ask them, well, what are you worried about? It generally is a social condition or a program or a belief system that is outdated for me. I don't subscribe. It's unnecessary. I'm like, it's just not where I'm at. I know that you live somewhere else, and I know that you want to protect me. And I live in a different time and a place where people think differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the thought, Scott, that you gave me. And I think about it a lot. And I'm going to actually let you tell the story about Jane Fonda, because I really only have 5 people that I care about their opinion, and everyone else, unless they're like incredibly educated in their field, and they're like there, and I know that they're there to help me move forward in whatever it is that I'm doing. Their opinion just doesn't matter. I love you. And so long, and thanks for all the fish. That's how it literally sounds like that in my head.
So the Jane Fonda story is, most of you by now know that I worked with Jane Fonda for 11 years. I ran a camp at her ranch in Santa Barbara. And at the time that I started this was from 1979 to 1991. And when we first started, Jane was the #1 female film star in the world. She also was doing her Jane Fonda aerobics, which was a huge, it revolutionized the video industry back in the days of Blockbuster. And so because I was with her every summer, she would organize her schedule. She loved being at the camp. We spent a lot of time together. And there's one day that we went on a lot of hikes. She had dogs, I had dogs, so we'd take our dogs on hikes. And I asked her, how do you manage all these things? You know, you're a film star, you produce your own movies, you have the aerobics thing going on, you're a wife, you've got 2 kids, you've got the camp. How do you manage all the people giving you feedback? And what Jane said that was very wise is, she said, I don't listen to any criticism, and I don't listen to any adulation. I don't even read reviews. What I do is I've chosen 4 or 5 people that I truly trust and truly respect in each part of my life. That is who I go to, considering, should I make this movie? What's the next video that I should do? How can I be a better mother? I have those select people that I've chosen that I know will be honest with me. They're not going to flatter me, and they're not going to unduly criticize me. They're going to give me neutral perspective that I trust. Brilliant. Coming from somebody who just accomplishes a phenomenal amount in their life. And so I think it's a great piece of advice. So thank you, Trish, for reminding me of my own story. And I'll bring everybody back on for a moment. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about how to handle either criticism or well-meaning stop signs from, or I should say, stop signs from well-meaning friends and family members?
Well, I'd like to share something, because it is something that's more recent that just happened to me. As I was going to publish my book, I had so many people try to stop me from using the title Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. And I that really challenged me, because I really felt that spirit guided me, my higher self guided me with that title. I didn't make it up. It came to me, and I was told that I should do that. And then I was challenged so much about it. And I was challenged about the stories that I told. And because people were, they loved me and they wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get hurt. And so, especially with herpes and psychedelics, like all the judgment that might come your way. And, it was really overwhelming in the very beginning, but I just felt like, because I was so clear, I just kept running it up the pole. And I'm just like, where am I with this? And I also really like to muscle test, like if my mind's so active and I can't, like, is this a yes or a no response? So that was also something that I was doing. But I think the funnest part about it all is once I got beyond the fear of everyone else's fear of having the title or sharing stories that other people didn't think were appropriate, I started to realize that whatever someone said to me is just a reflection of their lens. And so I'm like, oh, I love this, because I'm going to get to learn about everybody else based on what they say to me, based on what they tell me, based on what they comment, based on what they ask. And so it's become really fun to take anything that comes my way, because I know that it's their lens and it's not personal to me. It might be about my personal story, but the more that I can evoke within someone else something for them to maybe get deeper into their own issues, I'm happy to sort of be sitting on the other side and taking the brunt of it, if you will, if it's something negative. I mean, obviously the positive ones are really fantastic, but so I just really look at, oh, that's their lens. Thank you. Thank you for showing me or sharing with me, where you're coming from, and just letting it go and just knowing that it's theirs, and, giving it back to them, because it's not mine.
That's beautiful. And I'm going to go to your website for a moment. This is a good time to do that, since we're talking about the title, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. And yeah, I mean, I can certainly imagine how your friends were like, whoa, do you really want to have that in there? Because you think angels, herpes, ugh, psychedelics, a lot of different people. Some are really, yeah, psychedelics. And some people are like, no. So yeah, those are three words that you don't normally see together, So I really want to acknowledge your courage in doing that and following your guidance. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ilse, we haven't heard from you on this topic. Is there anything you want to share about manage criticism or people's judgments?
I mean, I feel like I very briefly touched on when I was speaking last time. I think the piece, I mean, the more that what I have found is that the more you go after your Dharma, or the more you go after your truth, living in truth, being in integrity with yourself, however that looks, whether it's a creative expression or something else, when you're making decisions that stop fitting the mold of expectation that you've been living in, there is undoubtedly going to be criticism. It's very, very unlikely that you're not going to receive any pushback whatsoever. And the way that I've, I guess, had to change my relationship to some deep, deep challenges is, this is a test. This is God, or whatever you might want to call it. This is testing me. Am I committed? Am I all in for myself? And how far all in am I in for myself? And what I found happens is levels of decisiveness around really going for it, because this is the only life that I've got. And I'm the only person who can live my life. And nobody else around me is ever going to have to experience what it's like to be inside my body, in my heart, in my mind. If I don't, or if I do, is that those moments of decisiveness breeds confidence. Like, confidence for me was never really just there. It's, something I had to really develop. I had to make those decisions and then back myself up. And sometimes it was the wrong one, it failed, or it was terrible, or bad things happened. But that making the decision and being responsible for it is what has helped to grow my confidence in continuing to make those decisions. And then what happens from there is that all the criticisms and the the people, the kind of the naysayers, the people who don't necessarily want you to follow that path, or who don't agree with it, tend to fall away. You know, there's sometimes, you know, like not all relationships are meant to be forever.
Mhm.
You know, it's unfortunate, and it can be sad and painful to lose friends or family members along the way, but sometimes that's just how it is. And that grieving process is part of the pain of growing into yourself and of your soul healing. And, you know, really that piece around self-betrayal, I think, is one of the biggest wounds. I mean, I've worked as a coach previously before, and it's one of the biggest wounds that I've ever seen, is when you're not in your Dharma, when you're not in your creative expression and truth, you're sitting there just knifing yourself in the back every day so that you don't lose love and approval from the people around you.
Beautiful. And again, I want to remind everybody that Ilsa has, because I know a lot of new people who just joined us. Ilsa is the creator of the Erotica Film Festival. And I really want to encourage everybody, get tickets for it. Let's all support this. It's going to be beautiful. 21 days of these beautiful, beautiful films. And it's really inexpensive. And she's also offered a code, 15% off. So I really want to encourage people to buy tickets for this. It's just beautiful. I'm so impressed with what you've put together, Ilsa. It's really, really.
And I just wanted to add, you know, if you do want to come to this festival, but you don't want to watch it alone, or if you want to get a group of friends together to chip in for the ticket, you can host a private watch party.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea. I can think of somebody I would enjoy watching these films with. I'm going to read some comments from our audience that have come in, and then we're going to bring Paul Sterling on. Paul is in the audience tonight. But here's a few. Beatrice writes, Ilsa, I am hearing you speak out the conversations that I have with me, myself, and I. And Dia is going to buy you a book, Beth. So you just sold another book. Beloved Deborah Juliet writes, yes, the best students get the hardest tests. Thank you for being such a beautiful light and for always listening to your beautiful heart and transcending others' fears by being a humble leader of the light. Love you. So that's from Deborah Juliet. George Noble, acknowledging what Trish shared. And Eleanor Joy writes, the speakers are all sharing so many insightful thoughts and ideas. Much gratitude. Well, we also have in the house somebody who's actually a frequent guest on the show, and that's Paul Sterling. So, hey, Paul, good to have you with us.
Thanks.
And curious what comes up for you on tonight's show and these topics and questions.
Well, I love the topic, and it's when do you trust yourself and when do you go for it? And my life has been an interesting adventure, like leaving home at 17 and going to Alaska, and then bringing a boat from Florida to Alaska at age 21, an 80-footer through the Panama Canal, and then working for Tony Robbins and being a U.S. delegate for the Soviet American Citizen Summit Peace Dialogue. All of these were leaps of faith, and there's some great movies. I was watching what is that adventure movie? The guy with the hat from Star
Indiana
Wars.
Jones.
Indiana Jones. Thank you. I was watching the Indiana Jones thing, and there's one of them where he's got to walk across this invisible bridge. And it's like, in a lot of ways, that's what we're doing with our Dharma, is we have to let go and trust before we can feel that it's there. And sometimes we're going to miss the bridge, and sometimes we're going to get it. One morning I woke up when I was in Moscow and said, we need to be on TV. It was a Buckminster Fuller project I was there on about the Global Energy Network International. And we were on TV twice while I was in Russia. It was Mission Madness. And it's not because of me. It was because the mission was important. And I just took action, and I speak about 8 words of Russian. So, and Scott, I've noticed you are someone who is a great example of a leap of faith. somehow you have faith in, whether you call it God, the universe, or whatever it is, and you step out on that invisible bridge. And I've seen you do that time and time again. And most of the speakers tonight, Ilsa and her erotic project, and we get tested. God or the universe is asking us three questions, at least according to me. What do you want? Are you sure? And are you done with that? So the are you sure is when you get tested. When I quit smoking many years ago, probably 30, 40 years ago, the first thing that happened is the guy I used to smoke with tried to give me a carton of cigarettes. And at first I was pissed off. And then I said, oh, it's the universe going, are you sure? So you get tested. And that's where we get challenged. Beth writes her title and she gets tested. Are you sure? And so that's the universe there. And Omishar's tests. And it's like, you look at it, it's an amazing way of looking at it. And I don't know if it's right or not, but it's helpful. I look for beliefs that are helpful. I don't try to test them and go, is it right in every case? I don't care. Is it a helpful belief to have? Absolutely. So,
words of wisdom from the great Paul Sterling. Thank you, Pro. I appreciate it. It's good to have you with us tonight.
thank you, Scott.
Well, I want to just spotlight something, and that is, I think, a very clear example of someone who's doing their Dharma with creative expression is our beloved Trish, our co-host. At the same time that we started doing all these shows 3 years ago, she and her girlfriend Dawn started the Self-Love Show. And believe me, I know what it's like to keep doing a show over and over and over every week. And they've been very loyal. And I really want to encourage everybody, come watch the Self-Love Show. It's every Thursday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And tomorrow's topic is something that I know a lot of people watching right now can relate to: marketing for hippies. In fact, we met Tad on one of our Straight Talk shows when we collaborated with Unite.Love. So I'm glad to see Tad's going to be with you. So Trish, I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and I would just love for you to share a little bit about how the Self-Love Show has been part of your Dharma.
Gosh, I think that, wow. Dawn has been coaching for a very long time, and there were moments in the really wildly abusive relationship that I was in that she would hold space for me. And there were just places that I couldn't understand how I was participating in this like socially programmed version of love, where love is sacrifice and that you're supposed to give fully to love. And I just didn't understand what that meant. And so I would do it in this way that I was, as a socialized as female, was taught to do, is to fawn and to contort and to serve the masculine with the man. And she would hold space for me in such a way. And we worked for a long, long time on self-love. And, there was a moment when my partner and I came to you, Scott, and we were, I think, challenged is an understatement. And it was already sort of on the friction out, and neither of us loved ourselves. And I don't think that we could have even loved each other because of our own self-hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And you've all heard this story, is that one of my dear friends was murdered by her husband at the beginning of COVID. And your gentle nudge, I was like, I don't know what show I could do. And I called Dawn up and I was like, let's do a show. And we decided that self-love was the place to go, because there was so much, like right during lockdown, everyone lost their jobs. We recognized that no one had, access to therapists or their coaches anymore. Like nobody had any money and nobody had any tools. And I was like, let's help them with these tools that we know. Let's help them any way we can to make it more loving in the world. And that's how it started. And I've grown a lot since then. The understanding of of what love looks like now, what self-love looks like. You know, before I kind of was like, oh, self-love, you know, nails and scrubs and whatever things. And I was like, no, self-love is looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, oh, you're like fucking up again. And I'm like, what are you doing that thing? Like, pull it together, be loving to yourself, be honest with other people, like show up and really, it's been a really powerful journey. And I mean, sometimes we talk about, Scott, you're going to be like surprised. Sometimes I'm like, should we keep doing this? She's like, this is the thing that like my life revolves around. This is the tether to reality. Everything else in my world can be crazy. And I get to come show up with you. We get to show up for people in our community, and we get to like have an amazing conversation with someone who's doing their personal work in the world. I'm like, so at this point, it's really our self-love. I also joke that it was couples therapy for her and I.
Yeah, it's really true. You know, doing these shows, it's a lot. And every now and then I go, God, should I? And then I got a message a couple of days ago from one of the people who watched our show on Sunday all about recovery and how to manage addiction. And she said, oh my God, that show was exactly what I needed. And it's helped me so much. And I'm sharing it with my friends that are dealing with addiction. So, you know, you get that feedback and it's really helpful. You know, it just so happens that one of your upcoming guests, whom we love and adore, Connie and Andrew, are here. And you're going to have Connie and Andrew on the Self-Love Show. So welcome, Connie and Andrew, our newlyweds. And I'd love to, you know, kind of hear from you. You're going to be on the Self-Love Show a week from tomorrow. And question of the day, anything you want to share about tuning into your Dharma and applying your creative expression to your Dharma? That's the topic for the week, and would love to hear what you both have to say, because you're entrepreneurs and you're filmmakers and you're authors and workshop teachers and all sorts of wonderful things that you do. So any thoughts you want to share?
Well, on that subject, I've been saying all through this evening, well, that's never been a problem for me as far as caring what anybody thinks and letting that influence me in any way. So somehow I got word early on that I didn't come here to win any popularity contests. So I haven't, that just hasn't been a concern for me. And so I've lived my life and raised my children quite radically outside of the system. And so that's what I've got to say on the matter. And we've written a book called The Trust Frequency, 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm, which gives people the tools to walk in absolute trust of a conscious, loving universe. And so you all have been speaking of in those terms and giving people tools for doing that, the courage to do that, because your lives have unfolded in beautiful ways having done that. And you've also talked about kind of coming in and out of that a bit, and what happens when one does. So anyway, I've got to contribute on that particular subject. How about you, Andrew?
Oh, what a beautiful evening, Scott. This whole spectrum of presentations is just really beautiful. You know, to have the courage to go and put together an erotic film festival. You know, I want to watch that. I love erotica. I don't like porn. I love erotica. I've always thought that sexuality, if it's to be presented, should be the most beautiful thing ever seen on film, because it's the most beautiful thing I personally have ever experienced. Cool. So, and then, of course, we have the relationships with those beloveds with whom we experience these extraordinary highs and very often these not so highs. So we have a strategy, let's call it a strategy, called the Dance of Souls, based on the understanding that we come to this body, to this realm, to this planet, with some learning to do. A big part of this whole adventure is, it's like some cosmic university, where we're to become our highest, best selves, not to hide out light under a bushel. We're to become our highest, best selves without becoming egotistical or obnoxious and all those things that quite often happen as well. And that we sometimes find ourselves being accused of. Personally, whenever I'm truly myself and I'm having an absolute blast, there's half the time there's somebody comes up and says, hey, like, cool it a bit, would you? Do you mind? I'm South African. I grew up with the monkeys and the Zulus, and they do not cool it. They are just uninhibited, and I'm content to be that. So it's a dance. It's a dance, and we are in relationship because each person I'm in relationship is a mirror of my soul, that I came here to look deep into that mirror. And sometimes it's not a pretty picture, and sometimes it's exquisitely beautiful. And both of them, I just say, thank you. Wow.
And, and just briefly, the Dance of Souls course is really based on our journey to self-love, so the self-love show is perfect that we came on, we gave the universe permission to take us on this journey. So there's only free will, there's only love, there's only the soul's journey to wholeness, which is alignment with our divinity and our purpose and our self-love. So that's what we'll be talking about next week on the Self-Love Show. Thanks for bringing us on.
Yeah,
Absolutely. A week from tomorrow. And I want to say, everybody, check out their Dance of Souls and their Trust Frequency. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And this is all about the awakening world. And they have come up with a vision and an understanding for how to drop into that trust, to really drop into alignment. And again, what's this show all about tonight? It's all about our Dharma. And so when we are in that trust frequency and we are living our Dharma, that's when the magic happens. And Connie and Andrew are both brilliant at sharing that. So catch them a week from tomorrow on the Self-Love Show. And
thank you, Scott.
Trish, you're giving me the finger.
Yeah, I saw that.
But you're on mute. You need to unmute.
That finger.
The one thing is that I love that you shared about turning up bright, or like I'm terrible at verbatim. There are other people that are better at it. But one of the things that I like to share is that let people self-select out. We're here to be the light. We're here to light lamps. We are here for the opportunity to be our true full expression in this lifetime. And there are people who are going to be like, yes. And I'm like, that's what I like. I want to love you in your fullness, like in where it's scary, where you're like, I don't even know. And I'm like, yeah, let's turn it up. I'll hold your hand. Let's do it. And then there are people who can only love you in the places that they've understood the boundaries of themselves. And they're going to limit that place of where you can see and recognize your godliness. So I just let people self-select out.
It's wise. It's wise. All right. Well, we are now in that kind of final lap of the show. So I want to give our special guests, Ilsa and Beth, one more chance to share anything you want to share, and also where I can kind of remind people about your offerings. Ilsa, I'm going to put the spotlight on you. What final thoughts do you want to share with our audience tonight?
Oh, I feel put on the spot, literally. Final thoughts.
Anything that comes to mind, because you are a wise woman. And again, I so honor mother, wife, putting together an incredible film festival. And just the wide range of erotica, and you're acknowledging that. I really respect you a lot. So anything you have to share, I think, will be inspired.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for your words. I feel like, the final thoughts, particularly around creative expression, is that it doesn't always take the form that we imagine creativity will take. And my personal journey with creative expression, I'll digress a little bit. I think for some people, there's a very clear, like, I just want to make music, or I just want to teach, or I just want to paint. And some people are very clear in that very singular creative direction. And for others, perhaps many others, certainly for me, it has never been that way. There's always been an evolving, changing dialogue with creativity and my own personal expression. And sometimes it can feel exhilarating, and other times there's a need to upskill. I've just joined, I started art school about a year ago because I love making art. I'm actually really good at it, but I didn't have any skills. And so developing those skills has really allowed more creative expression to move through me in more skillful ways of how my mind and my brain and my creative expression wants to come out. There's a refinement and a sophistication that comes with learning and developing skills in every field, obviously. And so I guess I want to encourage people in all creative expression, and obviously especially through the erotic self-expression, however that might reveal itself, is that there are different opportunities, and sometimes these small threads of ideas that can seem crazy or perhaps not worth it, or we don't have enough time. And what I've found is that there's deep magic in just capturing those and loving those little elements and giving it some nourishment to take hold and to see where it's going to go. And that can become part of that self-honoring and the creative process of life. So if you ever want to make a film, either of yourself or of your creative or erotic expression, then erotica is a really beautiful place to do that. It doesn't even have to be sexy. It can just be, a film of a hand and of touching a hand and an arm, or painting your arm. There's so many ways that we can be involved with ourselves. So erotica might be a place that you want to share that in.
Beautiful. So one more time, her website is eroticafilmfestival.com. eroticafilmfestival.com. Buy tickets. There's a 15% discount code. And we just really appreciate you so much. And we're going to go to Beth. Beth, same question, of course. What are kind of the final thoughts you want to share?
Well, I guess what came to mind to share is I really believe that love is the new currency. And the question that we should be asking ourselves is, and others, is how rich are you in that currency? And I think it's a great time because, your platform is such an incredible platform for people to come together in communion and community. And I think as we move forward and everything that's to come, things that might feel good or bad, but they're all for the transcendence of what's happening here on planet Earth. I think sometimes we don't always see the value in love as a currency. I think we all see the value of love, but sometimes that's what we're bringing to the table is love. And the third dimensional thought constructs are very much focused on wealth and that kind of money. And so I think as we continue to move into this newer way of being and living, that we really just understand our incredible value of doing the inner work and being the love that we shine to everyone else out there in the world.
Beautiful. Well, a reminder, everybody, that you can learn all about Beth by going to her website, and it's her name, bethbell.com. bethbell.me. bethbell.me. And I really like this, that when you go to your website, we can right away get the first 2 chapters of the book. Oh, I think because I did this before, so I can do it again.
Or I think you might have checked both of the boxes, but if you just check one, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I was moving a little fast. Here it is. Here's her book. You can learn more about Beth. You can get the first couple of chapters. And I also saw that Dorina had put in your link into the website. So thank you, Dorina, for doing that. And Beth, It's a blessing. I look forward to having you on the show again sometime. And I'm going to bring on our co-host Trish one more time because Trish has a very unique creative expression. Leave it to Trish, not leave it to my beloved friend Trish to have this, an embodied kinky date night guide. Only you, dear. I'm signing up for it because I'm certainly curious to see what you created. So tell us
I hope so.
this particular creative expression, my love.
Well, I will tell you about this creative expression once you click submit, and that goes. Go.
It takes us. We got to do this thing, this silly thing, to make sure that I'm really me. Okay.
Good to know. I'll get that off. So if you go to satisfymeplease.com, it is a really amazing opportunity. Can you go back to that website and click out of it?
Go back to there.
This is a really amazing opportunity to play in Tulum in August, either solo or with your beloved or a friend. Shoot, bring a friend. I don't, but it's going to be 7 days, 6 nights of wildly fun, playful, sensual, erotic play. And I'm teaming up with Ashley and Cantata. And she, I don't know if you know her. We were doing, what was it like? We were doing speed relating things online during
speed dating.
Both of us were like, I'm alone. I want to date, or I don't know. Can we just have fun? And we created these things together. So this is our newest creation of she teaches Tantra, and she really wanted to create something with me that really enlivens and really edges the boundaries of what she's comfortable with. She's like, I don't know anything, and I have judgments about BDSM. And I was like, great, let's do it. And so we get to do this whole thing together in this amazing spot in Tulum. And we have an amazing chef. And this is going to be so fun. I'm teaching my attuned dominance work as well as my interdependent submissive work there, which is going to be really great. I'm going to be teaching the erotic breath, which is super fun and super wild. No touching, just breath can get really, really hot. But I'm really excited about it. We launched it yesterday.
Congratulations, Trish. You're in a whole new place. You've got a whole new life. Yeah. Well, all shows begin and end with Omashar, which is such a blessing. Brother, what are some of your thoughts about what we've seen tonight? And
holy smoke, what an important topic. And I'm so inspired by Trish and Ilsa and Beth and Connie and Andrew, and of course you, Scott, and Paul, of course, but primarily the 3 women tonight, because there was a question earlier about what do you do with criticism? And I was critiqued so radically as a child, and it's only with me now being 100% in my Dharma and not deviating at all, except when I deviate. When someone criticizes me, a little bomb goes off in my mind and I shut down completely, and I'm lost for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour, a day. That used to be me about a year ago. And so hearing these incredible beings who have walked through this inner fire, because we're all unique individuals, right? Nobody has an expression like me or Beth or Ilsa or Scott or Trish or Paul or Connie or Andrew. We're all unique, and we're walking hand in hand together. And but I'm noticing how my programming is crushing my dreams, and so I've chosen to not allow that to happen ever again, but to face the fire each time. And so every time I get to speak, even on the awakening world, I face that fire every time, but it gets lesser and lesser and less. And so if it's song time, I have the song, What More Can I Be Than What I Am, which is what you are. And I'm going to put a really flowery backdrop on because I just don't care, like Connie said. Well, I do care a lot, but it doesn't matter what other people think. So here we go. We have this one, and then we have this one. Woo! Now we have this. What more can I be than what I am? Though it's taken some time to clear these clouds from my eyes. So open your heart and dance along. I'm thinking it's time to stop that same old song. Alive, so hear me now. I am in love with the world around me, and I will hold her in my arms and lift her with my dreaming. Da-da-da-da. And lift her with my dreaming. Da-da-da. And lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. So don't try to hold me to what I was. Travel through time to see this day arise. The love that I am is here for you. So open the door and let the sun shine in. I've come alive, so hear me now. I am in love with the world around me, and I will hold her in my arms and lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. And lift her with my dreaming. And lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. So open the door and let the sun shine in. I've come alive, so hear me now. I am in love with the world around me, and I will hold her in my arms, lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. And lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. And lift her with my dreaming. Ba-da-da-da. What more can I be than what I am?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we were able to combine Eleanor Joy and Ian on separate places.
I know, man. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Well done. I know. I think it's the first time they've been dancing separately together.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to give a shout out to Adora. Adora is one of the people who always dances. And we love you, Adora. And I got the book that you sent me today. I had been talking about bees and how I was initiated into the Bee Kingdom. You might remember that, Omar Shar. And she, 2 hours later, happened to be at a bookstore, saw this book, and bought it for me. So
How
thank you,
beautiful.
Dora. Very, very meaningful to me.
Dora. Yeah,
Whoops. Somehow Deborah Juliet just did a screen share, which I don't think is what she intended to do. There we go. Let's go back. Anyway, thank you, Adora. Beautiful. I really appreciate the book. Thank you so much. All right. Well, it's been another wonderful show. Please make sure that you join us on Saturday night for this continuation of this topic. And we're going to have Tangela and Civil Soul Searchers, and our beloved Kristen Hoffman will be with us on Saturday night. So make sure you join us. And I'm going to go to gallery view one last time. Everybody, you can give a chance to wave goodbye and say thank you. I love you all. Have a wonderful few days, and we will see you on Saturday night. Good night, everybody.